Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Richard Pennington with the chemistry program at Georgia Gwinnett College. And what I wanted to do is to show you some of the pieces of glassware you'll find inside your glassware kit. Okay? So what I'm going to start off with is this guy. This is called a 5mm conical vial. It's conical because there is a little cone in the bottom center here. Okay? And it stands up straight like so. So in your kit, you're going to find at least one of these. You're also going to find a smaller version of the same thing. This is a 3mm conical vial, again with the same cone in the bottom. All right. So what you should have is at least one of each of those. Okay. Now some of the other reaction vials we have include this one. This is our 10mm round bottom flask, obviously round bottom because of its shape. We also have another reaction vial. This is called our pear-shaped flask because it looks like a pear. What we have next, you'll be using this piece quite a bit, particularly in Organic 2. This is our condenser. Okay, so this is the piece of equipment that allows you to run a reaction at reflux where water comes in at the bottom and out at the top. So when you have these guys hooked up together, the reaction down in the bottom here keeps on refluxing and you don't lose all your solvent. Okay. Now one thing before I move on to something else is about how to hook these guys up. I can just hook them up like this. These are ground glass joints. Notice there is a little thread on here. And what you have in your kit is a bunch of these black O-rings or gaskets or whatever you want to call them. And you've got a bunch of these blue caps. So what you're going to do is on the male end, you're going to pop on the blue cap first. Then you're going to pop on the gasket, pop it on like so, and then you're going to screw them together. And you screw this blue cap down until it sticks, and so there, your system is now in place and there's no removing them, okay? We also have something that can sometimes go on top of the condenser. This is called a drying tube, okay? This will fit into the top of the condenser. And usually what you'll put into here is some sort of drying agent, calcium carbonate, and you'll pack it in with cotton wool. So you put some cotton wool in the bottom, put in some drying agent, and then put some more cotton wool in the other end to keep it in place. So that's the drying tube. Up next, this is called a Claisen adapter. And this little guy, obviously it looks kind of funky. You have a male end and two female ends. The male end will go into whatever reaction vial you're using, and you want to use the black gasket and the blue cap to seal these two together. So this is used when you want to use the condenser and when you want to use something else to add something into your reaction mixture. So the condenser works the way it did before, but now you've got an extra access point for if you want to add something in. You usually have a syringe on top here to add something in. What we have here is called our three-way adapter. Notice there is the angle here, and there's two male ends and one female end. This is mainly used for distillations. So if we had our reaction flask here and we wanted to distill something, we would heat up our reaction mixture and put our condenser on like so, and then collect our product that comes out the other end of the condenser because we still have the water flowing in and out here. Something else we can use for distillations, this is called a Hirsch funnel. If you have your flask and then your Hirsch funnel on top, the idea is you get your distillation going and you put a pipette in here and suck out whatever liquid comes up out of the flask as you heat it up. Notice there's a little black cap here that you can take off to put your pipette in. This guy is something that you may use or you may not. This is called a thistle tube. I'm not really sure why it's called a thistle tube, but that's what it is. This is used for if we were going to do any fractional distillations where we're trying to separate two things at very similar boiling points. What we'd usually find is this is packed full of some sort of material. Right now it's empty, and what we're going to mainly use it for, it's actually kind of a cool thing. If you put this down like so, one thing it's useful for is packing down your material if you want to take a melting point, because you remember you have to get your material down to the bottom. So just use gravity to help you on the way and just drop this in, and you see it bounces like that, and that bouncing will help pack your material down to the bottom of the tube, and that is quite useful for that. So again, thistle tube. This guy you'll be using an awful lot. This is your centrifuge tube, okay? If you're going to do some separations, this is what you would use it for. So these two pieces constitute something called a Craig tube. And this is your Craig tube, this is your Craig tube plunger. Notice the plunger has this piece of aluminum wire on it. This is used for recrystallizations, okay? The idea is you dissolve the material you want to recrystallize in the Craig tube. This is where we got to be careful, okay? Then you put your Craig tube plunger into the top. And you make sure that the two are held securely. So you put your finger on the top like so. All right? And then even more carefully, you take the piece of wire and turn everything upside down. If you hold the wire strongly, you'll find that the two pieces of glassware stay in contact with each other, like so. So all your solution and your solid recrystallized product is up in the top here. You're going to take this whole system and very carefully, whilst holding onto the wire to ensure the two pieces of glassware stay together, put them into the centrifuge tube. And then when this tube goes into the centrifuge, the idea is that the centrifuge spins around and pulls all the liquid down through the tube into the bottom of the centrifuge tube, leaving the recrystallized solid up in the top. You've got to be very careful about how you do this. Remember, you need the piece of wire there. These two pieces of glassware need to stay close together. Also, you find in your glassware kit, it's not technically a piece of glassware. This is called a spin vane. This is a magnetic stir bar. The principle behind this, notice the shape of the spin vane. Notice it's triangular. It's not a coincidence that that triangular shape corresponds to the triangular shape down in the conical vial. The idea is when you pop those two in, they fit together. So in theory, at least, with the spin vane in there, you'll be able to spin your mixture and make it stir, okay? All right, so those are the contents of your glassware kits. One thing about these are really expensive. So don't start breaking stuff because you think it's cool, okay? All right? If I tell you how much one of these things costs, you probably wouldn't believe me. These are expensive, so make sure when you're putting stuff down, you put it down very carefully, okay? So some people don't seem to realize that glass does actually break when you drop it, okay? All right, there you go. That's your glassware kit. Thank you.